introducing Zed Multimedia. With a steadfast focus on lifestyle, leisure, and business, we set out to bring high-value oriented programs that captivate the taste and desires of our audience. From the captivating airwaves of Zed 101.9 FM to the dynamic visuals of Zed TV and the innovative realms of Zed Digital and the incubation of advanced technological knowledge at Zed Tech, every facet of modern media is meticulously curated to engage and inspire. Also, let's not forget the new Finder newspaper, now under the Zed Multimedia umbrella, delivering insightful journalism with a business focus. Join us on the journey where innovation meets inspiration, where lifestyle meets leisure, and where business thrives. Change is here. Zed Multimedia, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform.
You're tuned in to Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
The stage is set for something special.
It is time to go racing.
Garnacho! Oh wow! Oh wow!
LeBron James with no regard for human life. You couldn't write a script like this.
Here's Metz, and this is positive. Williams! Kudus! The Korean joy did not last for long.
Oh my gosh, Kudus.
Set back for Partey! Oh yes! Oh yes, Thomas Partey!
Well, good morning to you out there. Welcome aboard to the Wednesday edition of Sports Flash on the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. In the headlines, Ghana Premier League match day 10 is upon us as Vision FC head coach Nana Juman and Asante Kotoko gaffer Karim Zito react ahead of the intriguing tie in Tema. Plus, update from the CAF 2026 World Cup playoffs as Nigeria have boycotted training in relation to their match bonuses. Well, thanks for staying with me for all the updates. My name is Vector Kwao. Now let's kick off with the Ghana Premier League match day 10. Vision FC at Newtown will welcome Kumasi's Asante Kotoko to the New J Kraku, the second sports complex, in what could be a revenge game for the Porcupine Warriors after losing 3-2 to them last season in Tema. Speaking ahead of the match, Karim Zito said it was a very important game for his side and warned his players against complacency.
Yes. After the game, I told them the same 3 points as I said from the beginning. And myself, as a legend, I know what you just said is very dangerous. But to those of us who are fortunate to play football and become coaches, we do challenge or warn our players to go out of complacency.
Well, so you heard from Kumasi Asante Kotoko boss Abdul Karim Zito. Now let's hear from Vision head coach Nana Juman, who has been discussing the Porcupine Warriors' victory against their arch rivals, Hearts of Oak, and how that could impact their game.
I think that we should expect fireworks. Zogo is a very big team with big players. They've got a huge ego going into any game. So I know that coming off a win against Hearts of Oak, they are very well motivated, and coming to play minnows like us, we know that they're going to be a bit more complicit. But if you're complicit against Vision, it means that you're complicit against your own result. I think that is going to be a wonderful, wonderful game for our fans. We're going to give everything. It's going to be tough. Kotoko is very physical, but of course we are not as physical as them. So what we can do is actually play the game out of our heads and be able to be tactically disciplined in all the phases. When we're attacking, when we're defending in both transitions, we need to be a bit more organized and we need to be a bit more focused playing against Kumasi Asante Kotoko.
So you heard from Vision FC head coach Nana Kweku Ajiman. Speaking there onto the CAF playoffs, and Cameroon's Mazim Choupo-Moting and Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa are ruled out of the continental playoff semi-final between the DRC and Cameroon. The medical staff is also monitoring Andre Onana, who has an ankle injury, and his availability for the match against the Leopards remain uncertain. Now let's head to the camp of Nigeria because players are demanding a special bonus of $30,000 per win, rejecting the Nigerian Football Federation's offer. The NFF proposed maintaining its standard $10,000 per win structure, but offered substantial goal bonuses. $30,000 goal against Gabon and $50,000 per goal in a playoff final. The players claim that other playoff teams have secured special bonus agreement. The coaching staff, led by Eric Shekushel, and some players are opposed to the protest and strike. Still on the CAF playoffs, now let's hear from Mali head coach Tom Senfin, who has been sharing his thoughts on the 4 countries that believe Nigeria, Cameroon have enough quality and depth to reach the playoff final, with the Super Eagles advancing to the intercontinental playoffs.
Cameroon will be the final and probably Nigeria would win it. I think they have currently one of the strongest squads in African football. If you see their quality in attack, it's impressive. They have to be at the wall. On the other side, DR Congo is already the years developing in a very strong nation. Last AFCON they played semi-final. Gabon didn't qualify for AFCON, but it looks like that Aubameyang got new spirit, new energy, and that they are standing hard. Probably the pressure is more for Cameroon and for Nigeria. So it's very competitive. I think it's one game. It's a little bit sad that one team has to host it, that it can't be played on neutral ground. But I think, in my eyes, Nigeria is the big favorite. Cameroon probably would play the final, but don't underestimate Gabon. And for sure, DR Congo, they are also strong nations. So everyone can win it, but I think Nigeria has at the moment the best paper.
Well, so you heard from Mali head coach Tom Senfit speaking there about the CAF 2026 World Cup playoffs there. Now let's move on to other news. And the Spanish Football Association expressed surprising concern after releasing Lamine Yamal from Spain squad following a growing procedure it says it did not know about. The 18-year-old Barcelona winger was selected for the World Cup qualifiers against Georgia and Turkey on 15th and 18th November respectively. The Spanish FA said it was not told about Lamine's procedure on Monday, the day the squad began training in camp. Yamal scored in Barcelona's 4-2 La Liga win over Celta Vigo on Sunday before being substituted in stoppage time. De La Fuente has called up Rayo Vallecano's Georges de Frotus to replace Lamine Yamal, whilst the Euro 2024 champions are top of Group A with 2 games remaining and 3 points above. Theke, on to some other news now. In Portugal, striker Cristiano Ronaldo has confirmed the 2026 World Cup will be his last. The 40-year-old has scored 953 goals for club and country and also said he will retire from football in 1 or 2 years. Next year's World Cup taking place in Canada, Mexico, and the United States will be Ronaldo's 6th. And Ronaldo, who plays his club football in Saudi Arabia with Al Nassr, is all-time leading men's international top scorer with 143, while continues to pursue a milestone of 1,000 career goals. The former United and Real Madrid and Juventus player said last week he will retire soon, but confirmed on Tuesday it is likely to be in the next couple of years. Ronaldo helped Portugal to the Euro 2026 title, but the World Cup is one of a few major trophies missing from his 5-time Ballon d'Or winners cabinet. And Roberto Martinez's side have yet to qualify for next year's tournament, but will secure their spot if they beat Republic of Ireland on Thursday, which is tomorrow. Now let's get into other news, because now to Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola, who has been calling German tactician Jurgen Klopp one of his toughest opponents in his 1,000-game spell as a manager. The Citizens boss praised Klopp's player management and communication skills.
We started in Bayern Munich. When I was in Bayern Munich, he was in Dortmund the first 2 seasons, and after when I landed here, just arrived in Liverpool, and after all these 9-10 years, we have been 1,000 times. He beat me more than I beat him, and his teams always have been unbelievable in terms. His man management is no man better than him. I think he's the best communicating the feelings. He's no better than him. The teams, it was incredible joy to watch for the how respect. And after, I think we never had dinner together, I would say, private, for that. But I had the feeling that in one way, I don't know why we are connected, just for the fact we face each other a lot, no? And always we talk about that. When we retire, after we have time to spend and remember good moments. And I'm lucky now I have Pep Linders, like he was his right hand for many, many years.
Well, so you heard from Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola, and still more on Sports Flash. Let's get into the transfer market, because Manchester United have joined clubs interested and Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern Munich, in a battle to sign 16-year-old German midfielder Kemnet Elhion, who has 18 points to 25 million pounds on his release contract. And now somewhere Everton, Fulham, West Ham and Nottingham Forest are monitoring Arsenal full-back Miles Lewis-Kelly situation after England boss Thomas Tuchel said the 19-year-old needs more minutes to be considered for his squad. And still at the Emirates, Arsenal are yet to hold talks with boss Mikel Arteta over a new contract, with the Spaniard said to have 80 man left on his deal at the turn of the year. Let's now go to Old Trafford because Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim is open to keeping Brazil midfielder Casemiro at the club beyond his current contract, which expires at the end of the season, as long as the 33-year-old takes a pay cut, which might be a bit difficult as well. Let's move to Germany because Borussia Dortmund hopes of hanging on to defender Nico Schlotterbeck at diminishing amid interest from Bayern Munich and Liverpool, with a 25-year-old German international unhappy with his club style of play. And let's go to other transfer details. And a number of Premier League clubs are interested in bringing England and El Ahly striker Anthony 29 back to the English top flight, but wages could prove significant obstacle. And wrapping up at the Spurs Stadium because Tottenham among the clubs interested in former Brentford striker Tony, but are testing the market as they draw up plans to sign a new attacking player in January. And that will be all for Sports Flash on the Business Breakfast on Zed. My name is Victor Kwao. Trust God and have a great sporty day.
talk, the expectations, the whispers. Everyone is asking the same questions. That will government? I mean, what exactly will government do this time? But this year feels a bit different, doesn't it? I mean, we've been through some rough years in the past: high inflation, a weak CD, some tight finances. Yet, some way somehow, this year, 2025 has given us a little glimmer of hope. I mean, inflation finally dropped to single digits. We're doing 8% now. The first time in more than 4 years or 3 years or so. And the CD2 has calmed down a bit. I mean, after everything we've seen, that is no small feat. And it doesn't come, I mean, it didn't come easy. The government had to make some really tough calls under the IMF-supported post-COVID-19 program. There's been cuts, there's been controls, there's been sacrifices all around. We know the reduction in the number of ministers. A lot of things have gone on. I mean, just to be able to ensure some fiscal consolidation and prudent expenditure. But here we are. The numbers are still, I mean, are beginning to look a bit better, and that is some good news. Now, when you talk to the average Ghanaian, the shop owner, the teacher, the taxi driver, they will tell you that yes, things have stabilized a bit, but life is still hard. Yes, some people say that they don't really see the relief, and that is the truth. Prices have slowed, but they are still high. You know, wages haven't caught up, as loans are expensive. Businesses are still gasping for air, and a lot of other things. So, as we count down to tomorrow's budget presentation, one big question hangs in the air: will this year's budget, will 2026 budget policies bring real relief to Ghanaians? And that's a very big question on the minds of people. So let's be honest, the finance minister has a tough job in the coming year. He's working on a very tight rope between two loud voices. On one side, people are saying we need relief. Please cut taxes, create jobs, ease the burden, and that is one side. On the other side, the IMF is saying, hey, stay disciplined, don't overspend, stick to the program. And it's a tough balance, because the truth is that every CD you use to bring relief is a CD you want to use to pay debt and invest in development. And as we all know, Ghana's debt is still high, above 60-70% of our GDP or so. Our interest payments alone take up a huge portion of our national revenue. And so how do you stimulate growth and stay fiscally responsible? And that's a dilemma that the finance minister has to deal with. Now, let me break down what everyone is watching out for. I mean, from whatever I know. Now, inflation, we are celebrating single digits, yes. But the big question is, can we sustain it in 2026? Can we sustain it? We still import a lot of what we consume, from food to fuel and what have you. And global prices can change overnight. I was talking about this when when I was doing the news review, that global prices actually affect us. And so that is why we have to be very cautious. And they can change overnight. So if there's another global shock, what happens to the city? What happens to prices? That is one of the issue, which is inflation. The second thing is revenue. Government needs to raise a lot more money to be able to fund development, to be able to do the things they want to do in the coming year. But how? Is it by taxing more, or by being smarter about how we collect our taxes? Now, we've heard about widening the tax net, digitalizing payments, improving property tax, and a lot of things. All of them are good ideas, but very, very important. And let's be very honest, many Ghanaians are already feeling squeezed. So how do we grow revenue without killing the little momentum businesses have left? You know, that is something that we have to also grapple with ahead of tomorrow. And also another thing is debt management. So inflation is one, revenue is number two. The third thing is debt management. After the debt restructuring, we all said, hey, never again. But we are still spending so much on interest payments that we are crowding out other important areas: education, health, roads, and all of that. So how do we fix that? That is also one very important aspect of the whole thing. The fourth is the social side. The question is, will ordinary people feel any real relief? Because look, when you are living paycheck to paycheck, macroeconomic stability doesn't mean much. You know, if the cost of kinke and shito keeps going up, if you can't pay rent or school fees, then single-digit inflation feels like the headline and not a reality. And that's the case of a lot of people. People say that, hey, we are not seeing prices come down, even though we've heard yesterday I mentioned that the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, they've said that if we begin to see some more real relief, then we're going to see them drop their prices. Well, but most of the businesses that we know haven't touched their prices. The only slight touch that we've seen is in the transport sector. I mean, prices reduced a bit and all of that, but people said rice prices came down, but they have begun to, I mean, they are going up again and all of that. So a lot of issues in there. So that is also one issue that we have to deal with, which is the social side. And then finally, the private sector. Businesses are still struggling. They want policies that make it easier to borrow, easier to produce, and easier to even hire people. And the question is, will this budget give them that confidence? Or is it going to tighten things even more? Now, these aren't just easy questions, you know. They are not easy questions, and there's no magic formula. But one thing is clear, that this budget is a defining moment for all of us, and that is why we should all pay attention to it. If government gets it right, we could lock in the gains we've made. We could attract more investments, build confidence, and also keep the city stable. But if we get it wrong, if spending runs wild, or policy signals aren't clear enough, the markets could panic a bit and inflation could creep back, and we might undo the progress that we've made. So that is why so many people, from economists to traders to even everyday Ghanaians, are watching. They are watching very closely, because this isn't just another budget. This is a test of leadership. Are we going to continue the things that we are doing, or are we going to losing up a bit, which will in the long run affect us? So let me put a human face to all of this. Imagine someone in Kumasi, maybe Amma, who is running a small bakery. Flour prices have gone up, power bills have gone up, and she wants to hire one more worker, but the bank won't give her a loan. Or maybe think of somebody, maybe a trotro driver, maybe you can call him or her, him really, Kweku. He's grateful fuel prices have stabilized a bit, but maintenance costs are still high, and passengers complain about the fares. Or maybe a young graduate who is still job hunting after national service, hoping that this budget will open up some opportunity and all of that. Now, for people like them, the budget isn't just about numbers. It's a matter of hope. So what do Ghanaians really want to hear when the finance minister takes the stage tomorrow? I believe strongly that they want honesty and not fancy promises. They want to hear that the sacrifices we've all made are finally leading us somewhere. They want to hear, or they want a budget that feels different, that touches their pockets, their businesses, and their homes. And they want practical, realistic policies that actually create jobs, ease cost, and keep the economy stable. But honestly, to make that happen, government will need both courage and creativity. Courage in the sense that they need to make hard, data-driven choices, even when they are unpopular, and creativity in the sense that they need to find ways to raise revenue, and not just by taxing more or by growing, but actually by growing more. So that is that. Because our real problem isn't just about collecting taxes. I believe it's about productivity. If we produce more, if we export more and innovate more, revenue will flow naturally. And that is that. But that requires some trust. Citizens need to see that government is using money wisely, cutting waste, and being transparent. Because when people trust that their taxes are used well, they are more willing to contribute, So as we wait for tomorrow's big announcements, here's what I want you to think about now. Can the government deliver real relief and stay disciplined? Can they protect the gains we've made and spread them across households and businesses? Can the 2026 budget truly make life better, and not just on paper, but also in our pockets? And that's a big question. And so very soon we're going to have that conversation on that, what exactly, or whether it is going to the budget is going to actually bring some relief to Ghanaians. And I believe this is a conversation you shouldn't miss. We'll be joined by an economist, or two economists actually, who will actually break everything down, what to watch for, what it means for you, and where Ghana might be headed next. And so please stay with us because this isn't just about the numbers. It's about the future of your business. It's about your income. It's about your country. And I believe that you wouldn't want to miss a conversation like that. So please stay with us. We'll get into that very soon on our roundtable discussion this morning. But up next is Transport Today. Please stay tuned.
This is the pre-boarding announcement for flight 3728.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us right here on the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. It's now time for Transport Today, and Solomon Tetanati is here to bring you that. Solo, good morning.
Good morning, Nee.
How are you? I'm good. How are you too?
Yeah, I'm good by the grace. I'm just optimistic, about the budget reading tomorrow. I'm just hoping that we will hear some good news from the budget reading. Yeah,
absolutely. It shouldn't be, like I was saying, it shouldn't be just the promises, the fancy promises. We need to see that the things are going to, we're going to see the impacts in our pockets at the end of the day.
Economy as well.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Anyway, tell us what you have for us today.
All right. So it's time for Transport Today. I'm taking you through the local flight schedules for today, and then we'll look at some stories actually trending. And then lastly, we'll also look at the traffic situation in town. So let me start with the flight schedules for today, and I'm starting with Passion Air Accra to Kumasi, how the schedules looks like for today. So Accra to Kumasi morning schedules are 6:20 a.m., 8:50 a.m. and 11:20 a.m. We have 3 flights available in the morning for Accra to Kumasi today. Afternoon schedules are 1:50 p.m. and 4:20 p.m. 1:50 p.m. and 4:20 p.m. and then the evening schedule is at 7:20 p.m. and it takes 40 minutes to get to your destination. Now, Passion Air Accra to Takra, the morning schedule 6:20 a.m. and then afternoon schedule is at 4:20 p.m. Morning schedule 6:20 a.m. and then afternoon schedule 4:20 p.m. and it takes 50 minutes to get to your destination. Accra to Sunyani has only one flight available for the day at 9:10 a.m. 9:10 a.m. and it takes 1 hour to get to your destination. It means that if your flight takes off 9:10 in Accra, you get to Sunyani at 10:10 a.m. Accra to Passion Air also has only one flight available for the day at 9:50 a.m. 9:50 a.m. It takes 1 hour 40 minutes to get to your destination. So these are the schedules for Accra to Kumasi, Accra to Takoradi, Accra to Sunyani, and then Accra to Wa. But let's look at Accra to Tamale for Passion Air. Accra to Tamale morning schedule 6 a.m. and then afternoon schedules are 12:20 p.m. and 4 p.m. 12:20 p.m. and 4 p.m. and it takes 1 hour 20 minutes to get to your destination. 1 hour 20 minutes to get to your destination. So that's for Passion Air. Let's look at Africa World Airlines, how the schedules also looks like today. So Africa World Airlines Accra to Kumasi morning schedules are 6:20 a.m. and 8:40 a.m. 6:20 a.m. and 8:40 a.m. Afternoon schedules are 2:20 p.m. and 4:40 p.m. 2:20 p.m. and 4:40 p.m. and then the evening schedules are 6:50 p.m. and 7 p.m. So we have 2 flights available in the morning, 2 flights available in the afternoon, and then 2 flights available in the evening. And it takes 40 minutes to get to your destination. Accra to Takrade, Africa World Airlines morning schedule is at 6:40 a.m. And then afternoon schedules are 2:10 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. 2:10 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. And it takes 40 minutes as well to get to your destination. Accra to Tamale, morning schedules are 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. And then afternoon schedules are 12:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. and it takes 1 hour to get to your destination. So these are the local flight schedules for today. Now let's look at the traffic situation in town. And today we are actually looking at Hacho heading towards Kwabenya, how the traffic looks like today. So there's absolute traffic at Hacho Atomic Road if you're heading towards Kwabenya, so you should take note of that. And the traffic actually starts from where the Total Fuel Station is located, past the Melcom branch at Hacho, and then it goes all the way to where the Atomic Down roundabout is located. So you should take note of that. And that's where the Goyo Fuel Station is located, at Atomic Down roundabout. Actually. So if you are using the Hacho Atomic Road, you are going to experience traffic on that stretch as we speak. And also there's massive traffic at or on the St. John's Dome Kwabenya Brekusu Road. So you should also take note of that. There's massive traffic around on that stretch as we speak. So if you are using the St. John's Brekusu Kwabenya Dome Kwabenya Brekusu Road, you are going to experience traffic on the stretch as we speak, so you should take note of that. And there's also traffic, massive traffic at Dome Market and heading towards the KFC Dome branch. There's massive traffic around that area as we speak. Now on the Accra Kumasi Highway, there's traffic at Achimota Mall heading towards the Achimota Old Station bus stop. There's massive traffic on the stretch as we speak, so you should also take note of that if you are using the Accra Highway heading towards Achimota or Abelempe. You are going to experience traffic on the stretch right from the Achimota Melcom branch to Achimota Old Station bus stop. So that's the traffic situation around that area. On the same stretch, there's also traffic building up slowly on the Accra Highway heading towards the Abeka Junction. There's traffic around that area as we speak, so you should also take note of that. Now let's come to the motorway, how the motorway also looks like currently. So currently there's also traffic building up slowly. There's traffic building up slowly on the motorway, especially heading towards the Accra Mall. If you are from Tema, you are going to experience traffic right from where the Action Chapel International is located to Accra Mall. So you should also take note of that. And now let's come to East Legon, how the traffic also looks like around East Legon. So currently on the Boundary Road, there's traffic on the stretch as we speak, so you should take note of that, especially where the Ghana TVET service is located. There's traffic on the Boundary Road around that area, so you should take note of that. And there's also traffic on the Mensa Wood Avenue at East Legon heading towards the Go Chinese Asian restaurant, so you should also take note if you're at East Legon using the Mensa Wood Avenue. So that's the traffic situation for you today. Now let's look at some stories actually trending in the aviation sector. So today I'm taking you through the report that were released yesterday, or that the investigative team released yesterday about the August 6 crash, where we lost our 8 heroes in the country. So I'm taking you through the report, and I'm going to read some of the things that the investigative team touched on when they were doing the press briefing yesterday. So the investigation established that the Z9 helicopter was airworthy at the time of the accident. It had been manufactured in 2012 and delivered to Ghana Air Force in 2015. So the aircraft reached its 10-year service threshold in May 2025, but the manufacturer approved 90-day extension that was valid until August 18, 2025. So prior to the flight, it underwent a mandatory 100-hour maintenance inspection, and both engineers and the captain signed it off as serviceable. Data retrieved from the flight recorder confirmed that all major systems were functioning normally before impact. Despite being airworthy, the aircraft lacked some advanced safety systems that could have helped the pilot manage the situation better in poor weather. So these include a terrain awareness and warning system, an advanced autopilot or automatic flight control system, and enhanced terrain mapping navigation tools. So these are some of the things that the aircraft lacked concerning, or that led to this actually incident that happened. So the absence of these safety features meant that the pilot had to manually control the helicopter at all times, increasing their workload and limiting situational awareness during instrument flying. So the investigators strongly recommended that future Air Force aircraft be equipped with such systems to improve flight safety. The flight crew were found to be competent, according to the report that they read to us. The flight crew were found to be competent, well-trained, and medically fit. The captain held a green instrument rating, which was the highest level available within the Ghana Air Force. He was an experienced pilot who had flown multiple assignments on the same helicopter. So the co-pilot had obtained his FAA commercial and instrument rated license from the Bristol Academy in Florida in April 2023. Medical and psychological records showed no signs of fatigue, illness, or medication use that could have affected their performance. So both pilots had rested for over 24 hours before flight, which exceeded the Air Force rest requirement. So the investigation found no evidence of engine failure, fuel exhaustion, or maintenance lapses. So analysis of the flight data recorder, cockpit voice recorder reader information, and weather data indicated that the crash resulted from a combination of poor weather and environmental conditions over the mountainous terrain near Obuasi. So the helicopter suddenly lost altitude and lift as it flew through strong downward air currents known as downdraft. So that's actually the problem, or the issue that caused the accident. So the investigation concluded that the direct cause of the accident was a sudden loss of altitude and lift due to downdraft. The flight data showed that the loss of altitude occurred without any change in engine power or control input from the pilot. So that's actually the report that were released yesterday to the public concerning the incident that happened August 6, 2025. So I'm taking you through some key recommendations that the team recommended to the government. So the first one is modernize the Ghana Air Force fleet with aircraft equipped with terrain awareness and modern navigation systems, and then install cockpit voice and flight data recorders, audiovisual capable types on all aircraft, and also invest in simulator training for pilots to improve preparedness for adverse weather and terrain conditions, and also contract certified aviation weather providers for accurate real-time route forecast, and also develop national en route navigational aids, especially in remote areas, and establish flight data monitoring and tracking systems for real-time aircraft surveillance, and also acquire and modernize ground support equipment to improve operational safety. So these are the recommendations that were given to the government to see to that Ghana Air Force get to address all these issues. So that's all for transport today, and thank you so much, Nii, for having me.
Thank you very much, Solomon Tetenate, for bringing us transport today this morning. All right, so let's get into other issues. Of course, we're going to get into our market trend segment very soon. Emmanuel Boateng, our in-house economic analyst, will be joining me for that pretty soon. But we'll take a quick music break, and when we return, we get into Hamilton. Very powerful tune right there. Well, we get into our market trend segment this morning, and today we begin a two-part look at the KPMG UNDP 2026 pre-budget survey, which is an extensive study that is capturing, what Ghanaian businesses think about the 2025 budget and what they expect from the year ahead. And the budget survey, the survey actually reveals a cautiously optimistic mood. Yes, the numbers show recovery. Inflation is down to now 8%, but at the time the survey was done, it was 9.4%. A stronger GDP growth is above 6%, but many firms say that they are still not feeling the impact. And so we're going to try to unpack this with our in-house economic analyst, Emmanuel Boateng, and he's actually going to walk us through what the data says this morning. Iman, good morning.
Good morning, Nitrabi.
How are you doing, my brother?
Yeah, I'm doing very great. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well too, by God's grace. Thanks so much for making time to join us this morning. Well, so you might first of all, maybe take us through the main highlights of the reports and how do the businesses rate government's performance on inflation control, tax reforms, and maybe the overall business climate. Then we can get into other things.
All right. Thank you very much once again. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Good morning to all our cherished listeners. The KPMG UNDP 2026 pre-budget survey is what we are discussing this morning. And it gives us a clear pulse. We have the feeling of how Ghanaian businesses are feeling heading into the 2026 budget. And this year, over 200 firms across agriculture, across industry, across services shared their experiences. And I think the overall story is one of cautious optimism, which you referred to as you gave the prelude to the discussion. One that businesses are hopeful, but they are basing their hope on some level of caution. The story is this: we've made solid macroeconomic progress, but many businesses say they are still not feeling it at the micro level. And let me start with the positive. See, Ghana's economy has shown genuine resilience, and I think that must be admitted. Real GDP grew by some 6.3% in the second quarter of this year, up from 5.7% a year earlier. Inflation, which was over, I think it was over 23% at the end of 2024, has dropped to, according to the survey, I think they used September. I don't know if I'm right on that.
Yes, I think September.
Dropped to 9.4% by September 2025. But we know that in October, it dropped further to 8%.
Yeah.
You see, the single-digit inflation we've seen in nearly 5 years. You see, and the cedi has been relatively stable. I know what other people will say whenever we bring up the issue of the stability of the cedi. Anyway, but the cedi has been relatively stable, and we are well aware of that. Trading between maybe 13 and 10 to $1 for most of the year. And I think we need to give credit to prudent monetary policy and strong gold and cocoa price on the international market. But businesses are saying this literally. Yes, macro stability is back. Yet our day-to-day struggles haven't eased enough. And this is from the report. Macro stability is indeed back, but our day-to-day struggles have not eased enough. That's the paradox. Stability without full recovery. And that should even tell us that stability does not necessarily mean full recovery. So firms acknowledge the progress. They are acknowledging the progress on tax digitalization, the progress on the repeal of the e-levy, the progress on government infrastructure through the big push, the plans the government has, but they also point to high interest rates, high cost of power. We analyzed this year, electricity tariffs, on and on and on. Tight liquidity as major constraints. And so these are the general things that the report highlights.
I see. So let's look at some of the key things. Now, we've seen that inflation is easing, the cedi is stabilizing, but businesses are saying that they are not feeling the heat in their day-to-day operations, according to what you said. 82% of the respondents show some confidence, and some 30% are highly confident. What do you think is holding back full confidence?
Thank you very much. I think that this is a very important question because, you see, it's a question of macroeconomic gains as against real impact, and therefore the confidence gap. I'll start off this way, then I'll come to the confidence side. Now, we all see prices cooling, CD holding firm, but for many businesses, that is not the case. It has not translated into cheaper credit or easy options for them. We know where our policy rate is, around 24%, average commercial lending rate between 30 and 36%. But the average SME, somewhere in Kumasi, Accra, that means borrowing 1 million Ghana cedis today would cost you an extra 300,000 Ghana cedis in interest rates within a year. So yes, inflation is down. The cost of capital is still choking growth. That's why only 36% of businesses related to this survey actually gave that rating of current environment being favorable, and 40% of them were neutral, signaling macroeconomic stability alone isn't enough. Businesses need some breathing room. See, the survey found 82% of respondents are at least somewhat confident in our economic direction. But see, in Italy, only 30% are highly confident. So the begging question is, why the hesitation? Because confidence comes not from announcements. Confidence does not merely come because we are announcing the economy is doing good, because you and I sit here in the morning and we talk about the positive strides the economy is making. No, it does not just come from that, but it comes from delivery as well. When people feel the real impact, that is why I started off with the real impact issue. Some cases, borrowing costs, etc., etc. What people really feel is what will drive their confidence. So yes, generally I agree that we have seen some stability in the Ghanaian economy. In fact, we have seen some good progress in the Ghanaian economy. But the delivery that will translate to the micro level is what I think the businesses have not felt. And that is exactly what the survey is pointing to. Businesses want to see capital projects being completed. They want to see that their tax refunds are proceeding, are being processed in real time. They want to be able to predict energy bills. So yes, this is what they are saying. We trust the direction, but can we trust the execution as much? And I think the coming month, the coming year, is a good window for the government to actually court the people well. You know, there is a social contract. You can call it a marriage or something. They need to be able to, in some jurisdiction, I would say that they need to be able to put food on the table. Not just saying that, see, market here at 10,000 Ghana cedis. They want to see that you are able to provide them food on the table. And I think that we'll see confidence rise. All
right. So what you're saying is that government has done very well on the design side in terms of policy implementation, but the delivery has been a problem. And that is where the businesses are feeling the disconnect. Now, you talk about access to credit, and according to the report, it remains a top frustration for businesses. Why do you think the liquidity is still tight, even after the macroeconomics or the macro stability that we're beginning to see?
Thank you very much. This is a question of design as against delivery. This may be on paper. Government policies have been fairly strong. I think the IMF program, in some sense, have anchored fiscal discipline. And key reforms like the digital tax portal, SMU, all of these things have begun to work. But I think there are always some lacks that we must highlight. And for Ghana particularly, one of our major lagging areas has to do with the place of implementation. For example, by mid-2025, and I'm talking about June, capital expenditure was about 63% below target. You know what that means? It means fewer roads, fewer industrial parks, fewer health projects, among others, were actually delivered. See, there is a fiscal program that the government runs, and maybe for the purposes of our audience, we can define that to be the government's budget in terms of planned expenditure as against estimated government revenue, in terms of money that the government will raise and what the government is actually going to spend on. The government tells us that if at the end of June, you are able to only execute 37% of what you said you were going to do in your budget, then that is a serious problem. And that is what I'm speaking to. 63% below target. That means that you were only able to do 37%. You see? So even though the deficit narrowed to just 1.4% of GDP, which is a good signal of fiscal restraint, it also meant that many projects that businesses rely on for contracts and logistics got stalled. And I think this is not far-fetched. I mean, we are in this economy together. Today is the 12th of November, 12th day in the 11th month of this year. How many projects have we seen the government actually working on fully? How much of government spending have we fully witnessed? You see, so Ghana has done well in stabilizing, and that credit I'll give to the government. But stabilization must now be followed by activation. And I think that's the missing middle between macro numbers and micro impact.
Right.
So yes, on the macro front, the numbers are headed in the right direction. On the macro front, the government is doing well. But in our pockets, the things we see, the things we can attest to, you see, like John, you see, what we have heard, we have seen with our eyes, our hands have touched. That is what we can testify about. And I think that is the part of the equation that we are yet to fully deal with. And I think essentially, Nitrabi, that is the issue of the disconnect that the businesses are feeling.
And I was even asking about the credit as well. Why is liquidity still tight, even after the stability we're seeing?
Well, I think that financing constraints is indeed the number one frustration for businesses.
Yeah.
Maybe across every sector, access to affordable finance was the top concern. Let's get into the data in the survey. About 58%, about 58 respondents, which is like the largest cluster that the survey reported. They called for grants, they called for soft loans or working capital support. What is this? You call it grants, call it soft loan, call it hard loan, call it working capital. It's money. It's liquidity.
Right.
It's money they need for their business operation. So more than 85% said, a credit guarantee or matching fund scheme will significantly help them invest in equipment and technology. That is money. They need money to expand their operations. They need money to scale up. They need money for money reasons. And we have been saying this time and time again. We are living at a time where the global macroeconomic environment is growing. We are living at a time where Africa is trying to do something. We are talking about AFTA, we are talking about the world as a global village, etc., etc. This is the time where Ghanaian businesses need full strength. This is the time where Ghanaian businesses should be shored up to a certain level that they can compete with the rest of the world. Today, we have people in Ghana working outside Ghana. Today, we have businesses in Ghana trading with the rest of the world. If our businesses cannot even compete within because they have a limited access to finances, because they have limited liquidity, then we have a big problem. Government's role is to create that enabling environment for these businesses to thrive. Many SMEs told KPMG that liquidity pressures are still severe. The credit that comes from banks to them is short-term. Collateral demands are very high, and risk premiums remain punishing. In other words, the price at which they get loans is very high. Interest rates on loans are very high. So Ghana needs to scale up credit guarantee schemes. You see, For instance, the Ghana incentive back rate steering for agriculture, the guest house, as we call it, that model is good. We need to extend it to manufacturing and operationalize. Maybe I'll touch on this. Forgive me. We perhaps need to operationalize the Women's Development Bank.
Why do I have to forgive you for that? I think that's a good call.
Yeah, it's a good call, but I think the last time we had a discussion on this, you remember,
well,
that was something that the president told us they were going to do. And in the budget, I think we saw some money set aside for it also.
Yeah, so it wasn't enough.
We believe that money was not sufficient to even establish a rural bank. But I think that is something we need, because today, if you look into the literature, the finance literature, a lot of the literature or the study, what scholars are interested in, I'm sure you see it on our screens and everywhere, women-led businesses has become a major issue. And if you're able to accelerate that, if you're able to operationalize the Women's Development Bank, I am of the opinion that it will close that gap. See, this is it. Until interest rates fall below 20% and risk sharing expands, many small firms, many SMEs will remain in survival mode rather than growth mode. It is one thing when you are surviving, and it's another when you are growing. That is survival. But when you are growing, then there is a clear vision, a clear path of where you want to get to, and you are doing what is necessary to move you from one degree to the other. And I think our businesses in this country deserve better.
I see. Now, another key issue that is spoken of is the energy pressures. Energy cost and power reliability keep coming up from time to time. And I think it featured strongly in this report as well. And how much risk do you think they pose to competitiveness going into 2026?
Thank you. I think energy is indeed another major bottleneck, another major obstacle, challenge for us to deal with. And we saw the respondents in the survey ranking energy cost and reliability. When we talk about energy cost, essentially we are talking about the price of electricity. Let's put it that way. The price of fuel, what you need to power businesses, among etc. etc. I mean, I'm not even talking about it at the household level, at the business level. The reliability of energy has everything to do with the nouvelle doom talk. You see, because how reliable is the energy? That the energy will be supplied with energy consistently, that we don't fear when we leave our homes. You see, that energy cost and reliability were ranked among the top 2 national concerns right after access to credit. Firms report frequent tariff adjustments, and I agree with them because we've seen that, sometimes twice a year. And unpredictable outages, you see, that affect their production schedule. In this country, you don't even know, of course, let's commend ECG where they are commendable. I've seen times where they send a public notice on some parts of Ghana that will be affected by power outage. I've seen something like that sometimes. But there are times where you are not told anything. I remember recently where I am, power was cut. And not just recently, this last, I think, Saturday into Sunday into Monday, really smelt it. It dealt with us, you see. So that is not good, you see. If businesses cannot predict the reliability of power, their production schedules will be interrupted. And you know, what we call GDP, in some sense, is aggregate demand. And that has everything to do with productivity, production level. Let's consider manufacturers around Takrade, Sprintex, Swame, Kanesi. A 1 hour power cut may mean losing thousands of cedis in input. In output, is what they can produce. And that is very, very serious for them. And so the businesses are saying that if Ghana truly wants to build a 24-hour economy, energy pricing, energy reliability must be predictable, because 24-hour means around the clock. should be like energy should be consistent, no interruption at all. And the 2026 budget could help by ring fencing capital for distributed renewable energy in industrial zones. And in addition to that, maybe offering some tax credits for rooftop solar and efficiency equipment. That is really, really necessary. Solve the energy issue is very, very significant, very, very important for the businesses. Our issue is not just road. Energy is also an issue. See, until you lose your lights, I mean, you don't have lights in your neighborhood, and your room is very hot and very unbearable that you cannot sleep. Sometimes you don't understand that it's an issue. And until you own a business where you depend on electricity for your production and you lose power at a time where you didn't expect, sometimes you don't see it as a major issue. But I can tell you, it's a very big issue.
I see. So they're calling for more investment into that to ensure that we are able to maintain a stable power supply. Well, one of the other things that you and I know is very big on issues like this is tax, and e-levy was repealed, and from the report I see that it was actually hailed as a relief, but I want to know from where you sit, has the broader tax environment actually become simpler?
Well, let me start off this way. The repeal of the e-levy and betting tax was widely applauded. We saw that. But when we asked whether Ghana's tax system now strikes the right balance, which is what the report is saying actually, I'm just quoting them, only 30% of them agreed. Look at that. The report says that the repeal of the e-levy and betting tax was widely applauded. But when they asked whether Ghana's tax system now strikes the right balance, only 30% agreed. 30% is less than one-third. Only 30% agreed. 45% were neutral, meaning they are still not sure how the reform affects them. And naturally, the uncertainty matters. It matters. You see, the issue about our tax system is not just an issue of e-levy as we used to experience. Of course, all of us, we were in support of repealing e-levy. In any case, it was affecting all. It was affecting all. We didn't know.
Yeah.
For some of us, I know this will spark some controversy out there. Some of us, we felt the betting tax should be kept. You can debate it wherever you are. For me, that's my own principle. But our tax system is one that needs, how do they call that? When COVID came, there was something we used to do in the rooms, like spraying it or something.
What fumigation or something?
Yes. It needs some fumigation because I believe there are some bed bugs in there that we must do away with. But we need to look at it critically. For instance, let's look at our indirect taxes. You know, on Monday I was talking to you about that. You know, we still pay COVID-19 levy. We still pay COVID-19 levy. Why? Yeah. And they should take that one too off. But the issue has to do with the burden of tax. You see, we are burdened. When you buy something from a supermarket and they print your receipt for you, sometimes it's as though you went to bed and they've given you your slip. So many tax lines. We need to simplify it. See, when Adam Smith propounded the principles of taxation, one of the things he did say is about, one, we knowing how much we pay as tax. I'm not too sure you know how much you pay as tax.
No, I don't.
Consistent. I'm not too sure. So many people don't know. Of course, apart from their direct tax, like pay as you earn on their income. The indirect taxes that we pay, many people do not even know. They are not too sure. You see, the argument was that when people know how much they pay as tax, to some extent, it reduces tax evasion and tax evasion intentions. 2, convenience. Convenience. The principle of convenience, I don't think our tax system currently supports that. You see? So I think it's something that we need to look at. And dealing with e-levy and betting tax alone would not solve our taxation issues. We know our biggest issue is that we don't have a lot of people in the tax bracket. Is that the Ghanaian business system is highly informalized. So it's difficult roping everybody in. How do we solve that?
Yeah.
Compliance has been an issue, and we will have to address that. Many firms complain that while nuisance taxes are being removed, multiple small levies remain. And I touched on that, COVID-19 levies, environmental levies, and the cascading VAT charges. Look at VAT has so much cascading effect. And they've also asked for faster VAT refunds and clear notice periods before new taxes take effect. Oh, yes, and to the businesses, let me tell you, there will be new taxes in the next budget. Maybe one, maybe two. The very least, if you don't get new taxes, I can assure you, the existing ones will do something to the rate. And the message is clear. This is what businesses want. Simplify the tax process, simplify the tax system, make it more predictable, and communicate effectively to all stakeholders. The point is, Nitrabi, a predictable tax environment is cheaper than a generous one because uncertainty is the most expensive tax of all. Spoke to you about certainty, knowing how much you pay exactly after. Uncertainty is the most expensive tax of all, and that is why businesses need a predictable tax environment.
Right. Okay. Iman, there are quite a number of things to touch on, and I think one of them is the 24-hour economy. I see that only 28% find the 24-hour economy and the Jumara programs actually highly relevant. Do you think it's about communication, it's about financing, or maybe even feasibility?
I think the issue isn't rejection. I think the issue is about realism. And maybe let me put it this way. Businesses support the vision, but they want clarity. And what do I mean by clarity? See, if we do a survey today, we walk down the street of Accra and speak about the 24-hour economy, maybe you'll be shocked what people will say. You see, they want clarity. How will the 24-hour economy be financed? Who qualifies? What support system exists for security and power supply, etc., etc., etc. These are issues they want answers to. It's not as though government has not done some meetings to explain these things. No, they have. But there is something that is very, very important, and it's the psychological economy. How do people feel about it? How do they perceive it? Do they have enough information to have a strong fidelity in the program, in the vision, etc., etc.? You see, when the survey asked the respondents about flagship programs, including 24-hour economy, a Jumara program, among others, see, and you put it right, 64% found them at least moderately relevant. Only 28% found them highly relevant. In other words, you have a remaining 72% who do not find it relevant. And like I'm saying, the issue isn't about rejection. I mean, the thing has not even been implemented. How do you even reject it? Perhaps at the vision conceptualization level. But it's about the realism of it. So to make these incentives credible, I think government must release a public implementation roadmap, showing us project pipelines, showing us the financing models. Yes, of course, I've heard Mr. Bushitando on some of these things. Quarterly milestones. And these are questions that were asked even when they engaged the press, the media, so that the firms can plan and participate. See, the point is this. Without that, they remain good ideas on paper. However, they are not good engines of productivity. They yield nothing, but they are very good on paper.
All right. Just to touch on maybe one or two more things, and then we can wrap up. Do you think that smaller firms feel seen in these reforms? Or do they still feel squeezed between the taxes and the high interest rates?
Well, this is a very important question, actually. Very, very significant. I think that SME, micro, small, and medium enterprises, which we know as the backbone of our economy, they still feel marginalized, and that is a fact. See, the truth is that they account for more than 80% of employment in this country. But as you put it rightly, most of them say they are squeezed between high taxes, high interest rates, and weak market access. What SMEs are asking for? They are basically asking for maybe three things. One, dedicated SME desks in ministries and agencies. They want that. Two, payroll or tax relief tied to job creation. In other words, the many jobs I create as an SME, the higher my chances or some tax incentives available for me to enjoy so that I can create more, scale up my operations. Because sometimes you need labor. Supply of labor has a positive impact on your productive outcomes. See that. And perhaps the last thing is that they need skills and capacity building grants to be able to compete with imports. Look at our market, flooded with so much import. Sometimes some of the import is not as though we cannot produce and manufacture them here in Ghana. We can. But why? Because we don't have the muscles to compete. We don't have the muscles to do them. And about 63% of them have said a dedicated budget, you see, for workforce training is crucial for their future growth. And in my opinion, that is a powerful reminder that development is not only about infrastructure. It's also about people and productivity. And that is what the SMEs are calling for. When you are sandwiched between high taxes and high interest rates coupled with weak government access, I think that the sandwich will not even be nice. It will not be nice. But sandwiches are generally good.
All right. Anyway, okay. Just before we go, I mean, if you had to grade the 2025 budget, maybe from a business perspective, the 2025 budget, I meant, from a business perspective, maybe A to E, what would it be, and why? I know this, I'm putting you in a tight corner, but
a very tight corner.
Yeah. Let me hear your thoughts.
Okay. First of all, I'll say that when I mark, it's difficult to get an A. So that you treat my grade with caution. I think if I were to grade a 2025 budget from a business perspective, very important, I'll give it a C+. And this is why. It deserves credit for restoring stability. It deserves credit for reining in inflation, bringing it down. It deserves credit for taking some visible reform steps. But this is why it loses its mark. For slow execution, high credit costs, and weak transmission of benefits to the real sector. And that is why the C+. And for me, the 2026 budget must now move from stabilization to impact. It must be a budget of impact. That means ensuring that a stable city and lower inflation actually translates into lower interest rates, affordable energy costs, and credible capital spending. See, Ghana's economy has weathered the storm. The next phase is about broadening the recovery so that every trader, every single Ghanaian, every factory, every single farmer can feel the difference. When we can borrow affordably, when our power is reliable, and when we can plan confidently, that is when macro stability will become household reality. So a C+.
Right. I see. Okay, Ima, thank you very much for your time. You know, tomorrow we'll flip the conversation to what businesses want from the 2026 budget. I know we've been trying to look at some of the things from 2025 and all of that. We'll probably touch on affordable finance, tax simplification, SME and green growth incentives, and what it will make, or what it will actually take to make the 24-hour economy work. And so let's have that conversation tomorrow.
Yes, please.
But I'm grateful for your time and for your insights.
Yes, please.
All right. Okay, please do enjoy the rest of your day, my brother.
You too, sir.
All right. Okay. Right. That was Emmanuel Boateng, our in-house economic analyst, and he was helping us understand exactly what the KPMG pre-budget survey 2026 pre-budget survey found, and some of the things that he thinks about them. And so, yeah, that if you miss any part of this conversation, please, you can visit our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and also on TikTok and YouTube at Z Multimedia. If you visit these platforms, you can play it back. Yes, but up next is a roundtable discussion. And today, we're having a very, very, very important conversation on the budget that will be read tomorrow. I mean, we just finished one on the KPMG pre-budget survey. And now we're going to turn our attention to what other economists actually think. I have two economists who will be joining me for this conversation, and we'll be touching on quite a number of things that they think should feature heavily in the budget, and what their expectations are, and what it will take to actually help us get there really at the end of the day, because that's very important. And it's a very interactive show, like I always say, so feel free to send us your expectations as well. We'd love to hear from you. 0544321019, 0544321019, and then you can join the conversation. You can as well call us on 0303956641, 0303956641, and then we give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us. But you can as well drop a comment on our social media platforms, on Facebook at ZFMGH, and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia, and we'll read them for you. All right, let's take a quick music break, and then when we return, we get into our roundtable discussion. Please stay tuned. and that was a black sheriff with the sacrifice, right? Anyway, so we're getting into our roundtable discussion this morning, and today we're talking about the 2026 national budget. Now, this week, of course, all eyes are on something that affects every one of us, and that is the 2026 national budget. And the big question is that will this budget actually bring relief or real relief to Ghanaians? Now, we've had some wins this year. Inflation has finally dropped to single digits. The cedi is holding a bit steady, and that is enough progress. But if you are like most Ghanaians, life still feels expensive. When you engage people, they tell you that we can't feel it in our pockets. Food costs are still high, loans are expensive, and finding jobs is still something very tough. So as the finance minister prepares to present the budget, the stakes couldn't be higher. Today we'll be unpacking what this could mean for you, for your business, and your household. And I am joined in studio now by Dr. Felix Larry Esilfi. He's a development economist, and he's the executive director of the Institute of Development and Economic Research. And he joins me for this conversation. Well, most likely going to be joined by another economist who I will introduce when he joins us. Doc, you're welcome to the Business Breakfast on Zed.
Thank you, my brother, for having me this morning.
Great, good to see you.
Great to see you
too.
It's
been a while.
Yes,
I think the last time we engaged was in September.
Yeah, September. Is it August or September? I think
August or September. Yeah. Yes, it's been quite a long time. Yeah. But I hope everything has been good.
Everything is fine. How about yourself?
Yeah, same here. By God's grace.
We thank the Almighty God.
All right, so let's get into our conversation this morning. We're going to look at the budget, really. I mean, the one that is yet to be read, and some of the expectations and all of that. But generally, let's look at 2025. How do you think we have done as a country?
Okay.
Yes, from an economic perspective.
In terms of our performance
so far.
Yes, I would say that we've done quite well. Looking at how the economy was when the current administration took over. If you look at the key economic performance indicators, they were very bad.
Yeah.
But at least you can see that there has been some sort of improvement when you look at indicators. For example, the Bank of Ghana's policy rate, they took it from around 27.8 thereabout. Now it's around 25%. That tells you that when you come to the commercial banks, at least interest rate has marginally gone down a little bit. If you also look at inflation, you can see that they took it from somewhere 24-point-something%. Now we are in single digit, trajectory, where we are talking about 8% as of the end of October. You can also look at the exchange rate. You can see that the cedi has performed fantastically this year. To the level that the current administration took it from the region of 17-point-something% on the average, as far as the dollar is concerned.
In 17 cedis.
Yes, 17 cedis. And yes, I beg your pardon, 17 cedis. Yeah. And then now we are talking about 10.
Your colleague economists actually say that it is not 17 cedis. Well, maybe on the at forex bureaus.
So that's why I said on the average.
Yeah, but interbank.
Yes, interbank was around 15 cedis. But you know that when it comes to the forex, I don't want to talk of the black market, but the forex bureaus actually control the major part of the market. So you see that. At that time, I personally, was doing a project, and then I had to change some few to pay my workers here and there, and it was around that particular region.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, I have heard other economists talking about, and I don't dispute that, because if you look at the interbank rate and the Bank of Ghana rate, you are tempted to say 14, 15, 17, 16 thereabout. Yeah. So, but be it as it may, we can confidently say that as far as Bank of Ghana's data is concerned, it is now 10.9%, I think, for the selling, and the buying is a little bit, yeah. So you could see that generally the economy has been stabilized.
Right.
So I have said that, and in fact, as at the time that the current administration was reading the budget somewhere in March, I made a prophecy that I see this year as a year of stability or stabilization of the economy. Even though the government was so optimistic that they are going to trigger growth at the same time, and I said no, that is not going to be possible. Of course, the government attempted to launch so many programs and policies, but you could see that implementation has not yet taken off, because the economy at the moment needs to be stabilized, and we can confidently say that there is some sort of relative stability within the system. And so that is good. If you also look at fiscal consolidation, government has done very well in terms of government expenditure. They have remained very disciplined, tightened the whole thing, ensuring that waste are cut off, and then we actually optimize whatever spending that we are doing as a nation, and that is very, very good for us as a country. In terms of financial management, the finance minister has done extremely well, to the level that now, if you don't have clearance as a contractor, you cannot, commence a project, because you commence it at your own risk. In this case, you're not going to be paid. And so you could see that now contractors know that, okay, before I start a project, government has allocated funds, sitting there for me to be paid, at the right time, for me to be able to execute the project as it is expected by the citizenry. So that is a very good thing. So generally, I would say that the economy is doing well as far as its stability is concerned.
But the citizens say that they don't feel the money. I mean, they don't feel the effect in their pockets.
Yes, they will not feel it that much. That is also not to say that there's no feeling at all. There is, but the feeling is quite minimal, in the sense that in the arena of ensuring stability, people may not be able to feel it that much. The people that will feel are mostly businesses, because now they can plan. If you look at inflation at 8%, consistently from double digit to a single digit. If you look at interest rate a bit marginally lower, down. If you look at the exchange rate, it tells you that businesses can plan.
Right.
You understand? And so businesses are the group that will be able to see some sort of marginal feeling or changes as far as their dealings are concerned when it comes to the economy. But as far as retailers and consumers are concerned,
households,
or households, you see that there is in economy there's something called price stickiness. Prices of goods and services respond slowly to changes in economic situation.
They're sticky downwards.
They're sticky downwards or whatever. Yeah. So in this regard, you could see that prices have gone down marginally, but it's not as we expect because of the sticky nature of the pricing trajectory within our economic system. Partly due to the fact that people were not too sure whether the stability we are seeing is going to be sustainable. And so sellers, will be very cautious in terms of thinking of reducing prices. That is number one. One funny thing also is that, you see, and it's something that happens in the economics, changing, prices, especially at shops, you have to change a lot of price tags, and that also comes with cost. You understand? So mostly it's also contributes somewhat significantly to the sticky nature of prices in our economic system. Then one key thing, and I think I've said it here over and over, is that as a country, we don't have a price regulatory mechanism in place. So everybody does whatever he or she wants in the market. I can go and pick a watermelon from Abri or the mountains, like 15 cities, and I come to Accra and looking at how beautiful and the size, I can say I'm selling in 80 cities and nobody checks it because we don't sell using the weight. We sell based on the looks. The banana seller down there, if you go, he looks at the finger of banana and then how attractive they look like, how long they are, and he says that this one there, it is 50 cedis. You understand?
Yeah.
But in some other countries, because the regulatory mechanisms are there, it is the weight. So if I say I'm buying 1 kilo, it doesn't matter the looks or whatever, it is the weight that I care about. And for every weight, I know the price. So once you weigh and it is the amount of weight that I require, I pay for it and I walk away. So for such economies, you will see that once there are economic changes, the price changes are quite rapid as compared to our systems.
Yeah.
So these are some of the reasons for which people will say that we are not feeling it that much.
Right.
One, because we are looking at how we the government is focused on stabilizing the economy, cutting down waste, controlling government expenditure, and ensuring that public financial management is also well streamlined in order to optimize whatever little resources we accumulate as a nation.
Well, but I mean that is one aspect of that. But some people also say that the government has actually done very well on design, but they've struggled on delivery. I don't know whether you share those same sentiments.
It is the truth, but like I said, the government focus this year has been the stabilization of the economy.
Okay,
you understand?
Right.
So I, for one, have criticized the rush in launching certain projects and programs like the Feed Ghana, this 24-hour economy.
You think it's too early to launch them?
It's yes and no. You understand? Because like I said, when they were reading this year's budget, 2025 budget as of March, I said this year the government should focus more on stabilizing the economy. Right. You understand? And then the next year, which is 2026, will be on focusing on growth. And that is my expectation for this year, for the next year's budget, which is supposed to be read on the 13th. I think it's tomorrow, right? Yes, 13th of this month. So I am expecting that, and we are not yet there, but let me just touch a bit of it. I will be surprised government still talking about stabilization of the economy, ahead of the coming year's budget. I am much interested in what government, wants to do to ensure that there's growth in the economy. That is what I'm expecting. So for this year, if people say that delivery has not been done, yes, it is the case, but I am not so much concerned about that because the focus ought to be stabilizing the economy. Because you see, stabilization of the economy is a necessary condition. You understand?
Yeah.
It's a necessary condition for every economic growth.
True.
Without your economy being stable, how do you grow? And so delivery, I knew that was going to be very slow or even none at all. Because some of the programs that they launched even at the time that the blueprint of implementation, we call it the implementation manual or the project implementation manuals are not in place.
So you think they were just trying to tick a box?
Yeah, I mean, because you see, that is one thing that's one challenge I have with this country as far as politicians are concerned. You have promised in your manifesto, granted, but as soon as you assume office, come out with, a timeline that we plan to do a 24-hour economy. But for this year, we are focusing on stabilizing the economy and at the same time putting together the policy document and do stakeholder engagement. Next year maybe will be the implementation phase. People are okay with that. You understand? Feed Ghana, the same. Youth entrepreneurship, apprenticeship program is the same. You understand? Jumara and all of that. Give us a blueprint. You can't implement these things in your first year. It's not possible. Because if you see, you have just assumed office, it will take about 5 to 6 months to fully consolidate your government. And who is going to be the implementation agent? I hope you get the point. So sometimes politicians, out of desperation of winning the will of the people and proving that we are doing something, we tend to take ad hoc decisions and mess up the whole process. So I think the government should have been very clear, with us as people that look, I'm just coming. I will need about 4, 5, 6 months to consolidate my full government. The next phase, the second, half of the year will be the preparatory whatever, whilst also focusing on stabilizing the economy. Next year will be my takeoff phase. And by now, if indeed next year is going to be a takeoff phase, we need to see certain things being done. The youth apprenticeship, I'm so passionate about it because look, my brother, as I speak to you, okay, the building that I am doing for my own project, it is being handled by Togolese. One, and then, Togolese and then Ivorians. Simply because they are they do a clean job. You understand? Ask yourself, where are our youth? The steel benders, the plumbers, the electricians, and all of that. The arc welders. All these people, they are Togolese and Ivorians working for me. I hope you get the point I'm making. Our youth, especially the young guys, all they think is Okada. I'm not saying it's bad, but for how long can you do such a work? Age will catch you.
True.
And you know, for you to ride a motorbike, our roads are even bad. Before you just, I don't know, I don't know whether you have ever sat behind a if
Yes,
you are taking Okada before.
Times, yes.
By the time sometimes you get down, sometimes your joints are really aching because the way sometimes the bumps on the road to be shaking you, haphazardly. You understand? So our youth cannot continue doing such a job, and they seem to be very satisfied. You know, they do that. They get 50 cedis or 100 cedis a day. They use some to buy gankenke and some fried fish, use some for bed, and then use some to go for, excuse my language, it's early in the morning, ashao, and then sometimes some of them for tramo, and then they hope that tomorrow they will go for another, and then they will get money. And there's no vision, there's no clear aim. But these are the future of the nation. If we don't put them strategically in areas where they can help propel the growth of this particular country, we are doing ourselves a disservice, a great disservice for that matter. So we need to be very careful. Right. So that youth apprenticeship program, for instance, you understand, I just saw some forms going around. The question is, where did they even do what is called stakeholder engagement? We have Kumasi Magazine, Accra Kokompe, Tamale Magazine. Mechanics alone, auto mechanics alone can train a lot of the youth. We have construction companies in this country. What engagement has the government or the sector minister done with them to ensure that at least steel bending and what have you, bricklaying and all those stuff, some of these youth are actually engaged over there to be trained and learn on the job? What are we doing? So the launching, that is why people are complaining that the design is obvious, it's good for the, people are seeing it. But in terms of implementation, because I keep saying, look, the president as a matter of agency should look at, think of doing reshuffling. Because some of the ministers, it's not that I have personal something against them, but this is your legacy term. God has given you a second chance. Second chance is what every politician, every leader in this world will actually crave for. Look, our president's mate was Goodluck Jonathan. You are blessed to have a second chance. Goodluck never had such a... He retired after losing, his first term. You understand? So, I say that President Mahama is our Ibrahim Traore for Ghana. He is the only one who can change the way we do our politics, the way we run this particular nation. Because one, he has no election to run. And he himself has even come out and said that he's not going to run again. And that is good. So now here, you don't implement policies, with the fear that the people will vote against you. Unless maybe he's doing this one in the bidding of the next person who will take after him. Because maybe the party wants to go for a second term or what have you. But we don't build a nation with... We need one particular leader to come and change the whole status quo. And then move us in a different positive direction so that it will become a blueprint for others to come and follow.
Right.
If we don't do it that way, my brother, we're not going to head anywhere.
Okay. I mean, you raise very important things, but just because we are not focusing on that today, because I have a lot of questions I would have asked you along those same lines. But those are very genuine concerns, and I think that this Okada thing you talked about, very, very important. A lot of our young people just think, I see so many of them, and that is where they are focused.
Please pardon me to add, I mentioned, I'm being gender biased, I made mention of our boys. The ladies, my brother, look, go to University of Ghana, go to UPSC, go to all the private universities. The ladies you see innocent like that, most of them are into hookups. I'm telling you for a fact.
Really?
Yes, most of them are into hookups. Because you see, we have built a nation where we think you can be rich overnight. And you can use very sophisticated gadgets that even rich people who are capable of buying thousands of those gadgets are not willing to buy. I have had the opportunity to be at a program where Ibrahim Mahama came there. And the kind of phone that he was, the phone he was? iPhone 7 Plus. You understand? Meanwhile, young girls are craving for 17 Pro Max and what have you. Are we crazy? So our young girls have become, hookups. These days, because of technology, they don't stand by the roadside. So even the young guys who want to marry, the road is highly opaque. You don't even know whom you are going to propose marriage to and what she does behind the scene. I'm telling you, if you like, you are a media house, take it upon yourself and find a very, innovative way to do a little survey. You will see that what I'm saying is the fact. Most of the times, it is the Nigerians you see them showing their faces and all of that. You understand?
They don't have.
I have done a study. I will not mention the organization that actually gave me that contract, and then they wanted to know how this HIV/AIDS is spreading amongst the young, the youth, and then I had to interview some prostitutes, both in Kumasi and Accra here. And I was shocked. Sometimes you park your car short, then they will mention a price. And I said, is this because of this money that you don't know me anywhere? So do you know how I got them to interview them? I have to pay them for that service. And then I can get the interview done. And it was a very expensive research, because the point of the matter is that they are not willing to talk. And so, the design we use, I'm sure you have heard a snowball design. Yeah. You understand? So one will recommend whatever, and you have to do it at a low key. And they don't want you to use their fellow females to go and interview them. I hope you get the point. What we are going to do, so youth apprenticeship. Look, one of the reasons for which I voted for this particular current administration is the youth apprenticeship program. Forget about 24-hour economy. 24-hour economy cannot work if you don't have the human resource capacity. Take it or leave it. That one, I see it as a long-term. It's not a bad project, policy. It's a very good policy, but it's a long-term thing. We need to build our human resource base, not just training them from the university and churning them into the system. Look, I have brought a lot of first-degree holders. I have to retrain them. I have said it here before. So we need to, the artisan. That is how Japanese took off. Yeah. And that is the reason for which the late President Rawlings brought the former GSS. I did technical drawing, technical skills, vocational skills, life skills, where I can use this needle and thread to do some handkerchief here, do the weaving. Vocational skills, and that is life skills. Vocational skills, I did basketry. I can weave a basket. I did technical skills. Technical skills, I can do kitchen tools and what have you. I did technical drawing. I can do simple drawings and what have you, front elevation, what have you. I know all those stuff.
I remember that.
I hope you get the point.
Yes.
I did so many things.
All of that have become quite theoretical these days. So
you understand? So we need to be very careful. So the youth apprenticeship program, my brother Pareado is joking. I mean, he's not really handling it well. And this one I'll mention is that because he's one of the guys during the vetting. If you look at how eloquent he was and the way he addressed issues, I really had so much faith in him. But it seems now he's doing the work of the NACOC. Is it the NACOC or NACOC? NACOC. You understand? Yeah. He has to leave that one and then, take charge of that policy and run it. Engage the agencies under him to do the implementation, to be the implementation machinery. By this time, there should be engagement. Go to Kumasi Magazine. These are the people who can dismantle this modern cast engine to the barest, component, and then put them together. We should just get the youth there. Anyway.
Right. But like you said, I mean, this year's more stability. So in as much as they've launched certain programs, maybe in the coming year, 2026, we'll begin to see the implementation.
Yes, we hope so.
Yes. So you've spoken generally about what you think about the economy thus far. Maybe you can touch on the budget that was read, 2025 budget. Yeah. Do you think that it has been effective? Do you think it's been able to implement the things that is set out to implement? And do you think that the impact has been very good?
Okay, so first of all, if you look at the 2025 budget that was read, there were policies and programs to stabilize the economy, and there were policies and programs aimed at propelling growth. Yeah. So I would like to handle them separately. Sure. The component that was meant to stabilize the economy has done excellently well. And it takes an insincere economist or policy analyst to say otherwise. Because I started by mentioning some of the indicators. That's true. Inflation, exchange rate, you talk about interest rate, and some other component. Even export has grown, quite marginally or significantly.
Gold
you understand? Gold and cocoa has also been, even in the face of Galamsey, where cocoa farms are being destroyed. You could see that, there has been some sort of marginal growth in the export of cocoa. So you can see that as far as stabilizing the economy is concerned, the government has done excellently well. In terms of implementation of programs to propel growth, like I said, I foresaw that this year will be an attempt to stabilize the economy. Much has not been done, even though some launches have been done. The Feed Ghana has been done, Ejumurura has been done, and I think will be launched this year or something like that. Yeah, sorry, this month or something like that. We're talking about.
I think this week.
Yes, we are talking about youth apprenticeship, as I just spoke about, has been launched and what have you. But you don't see the implementation. So my expectation is that the new budget that is coming will be crystal clear about the implementation plans and all of that, and timelines for us to see. The citizens want to see something being done. You see that now, NDC, this government has enjoyed a long-term goodwill because the economy, everybody wanted a stabilization of the economy. So you can see that we are not even, attacking the government on the issue of the economies, even growth. You could see that GDP, the GDP, I think for now is around, as it's 6 point something. You understand? As at the end of August, it was 6.3 or so. It's a long time I checked, so I stand to be corrected. So you get the point. Year on year, it is as by the end of October this year, it was 6.3%. That is the growth. You understand? We are hoping that we'll move a little further by the close of the year. We are waiting to see that. You understand? So even growth, something has happened. And that growth, I'll give credit to the actual administration, because you see, growth doesn't take care. Growth is not instantaneous. So let us be fair. You understand? Growth is not instantaneous. There were some few things when they realized that they had failed Ghanaians, they started doing in 2024, but at that time it was too late for them. Those things are also contributing to the growth. You understand? Especially in the agricultural sector. You understand? Those things are contributing to the growth. You can't tell me that just this year, this government has implemented certain very astronomical policies for us to see growth in the agriculture sector. It's not possible. Whatever they are doing this year, we'll begin to see them in next year. You understand? So growth has not been that much. You understand? But in terms of stabilization, it is there. And I give them, if you ask me to rate them, I'll rate them between 80 to 90, because it is crystal clear. And that is what that's why they are enjoying the goodwill. You understand? People, and then one good thing they have done qualitatively, no significant scandal. So you can see that everybody is at peace. When you drive through town, of course, the disappointment has started showing up gradually. Okay? Especially in the area of the Galamsey and other stuff. But when it comes to the economy, people still have the hope and the trust in the current administration that they can do even more than what they are doing now. So if you ask me of the impact, I would say that I would rather say effect. There's difference between impact and effect. Yes. And let me take this opportunity, because we are educating as well. True. You understand? Effect is that immediate change you see when you trigger a policy. So, for example, let me use a very simple explanation. If there is a clean water here in a bottle, and I put muddy substance or a muddy kind of soil into it, what happens to that clean water? The color will change. Yeah. That is effect. That immediate change you see. Now, the impact will be when that water is consumed and the person falls sick.
Okay.
You understand? Yeah. So that is the impact. So it means it has gotten an impact on health. By the effect is the change you saw, pollution of water. So Galamsey, what we are seeing is the pollution of water.
I think it's the other way around.
No. So impact, you see, if you do impact.
So impact is what happens to it right away. That's what I think.
No.
And then effect is a negative.
No. If you do impact evaluation.
Okay, you don't worry.
I am an evaluator. Right. Okay, whenever we say we are going to assess the impact of a policy, we are looking at the long-term outcomes or benefits. For example, maybe some program has been implemented. The impact will be that poverty has been reduced. And that is a long-term thing. You understand? Yeah. But the effect will be, for example, increase in production or productivity of farmers. That is the effect. You understand? But when the increase in productivity is just the short-term kind of change, people call it output that you are seeing. You understand? But the impact is when that productivity is be able to manage to reduce poverty and then improve on the quality of life of people, then we say the impact. So the immediate change you see is the effect. You understand? But people normally use them interchangeably. So here I would rather talk about the effect of the budget, this year's budget, because the impact will actually be felt next year. Like I said, some programs have been launched, and then you will see that the implementation is being done, and it will begin to have the impact being felt by close of next year and all of that. You understand? So in terms of the effect, you could see that now we are seeing that the prices of goods and services are marginally decreasing, even though they are more slower, than we expected. You understand? So you see that even the free SHS policy is also something. We don't feel people agitating, agitating as it used to be. There's silence in the system. You understand?
Yeah.
All these things are some of the effects of this year's budget and the government effort to be able to bring stability and cool heads in the system. So you see that people are not under tension. Those the slightest careless you show on the road to the way excuse my language. You see, the person is frustrated.
You don't quite see that.
You understand? These days,
but I think that is typical of first year of every administration.
Exactly. So. But the point is that this one has been prolonged, and that is a good thing for them. Right. And that is why I think President Mahama, he has any shake-up to do to change the direction of the country this year and early next year is the best time
to do that.
Because by middle next year, you will see that the opposition will begin to have a voice.
That's true.
Because as for the stability, you have done, and so what?
Yeah.
You understand? You have implemented, you have launched certain programs, and so what? We need to see more. And that's where Ghanaians are going to call more. So if at that time the government and his appointees are not prepared, that is where they'll begin to lose that kind of goodwill that they are enjoying now. So whatever they need to do to bring a shake-up, that reset, the resetting agenda, is that this year is the best and the early next year is the best. Beyond that, you will see that already I've told you, because of Galamsey, the president rating kind of has come down. It used to be around 80 something. Now I think it is around 70 something. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. Because of the Galamsey. And if it so happen that agriculture sector, after launching, Feed Ghana and Kokon Ketenkete and all of that, people are not really seeing the still price of food is very high, then what have you done? You understand?
Right. Okay, so exactly 27 minutes after 9. This is Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. And this morning we're supposed to actually be talking about the 2026 budgets, the expectations that the expectations that we have actually. Yes, we've actually started a conversation. We've been talking quite a lot about the 2025 budget, and now we're going to zoom into the 2026 budget very soon. But you can join a conversation. Please feel free to send me a WhatsApp on 0544-321019, 0544-321019. Then I give you the opportunity to actually join a conversation. You can also call me on 030-3956-641, 030-3956-641. And then you can share your thoughts with us this morning. We're on Facebook. We're streaming live at ZFMGH on Facebook, and also Z Multimedia on YouTube. Z Multimedia on YouTube. Please feel free to send us your comments, and we'll read them for you. All right, Dr. Sophie. Now, I think we spent quite a lot of time talking about the 2025 budget, which is actually very positive. I mean, you have said it's delivered quite significant results, just that there's still some more things that could be done. Now let's look at 2026. Now, from a macroeconomic perspective, what are your key expectations for the 2026 budget?
So expectations are two. First, whatever they are doing for us to enjoy the stability should be deepened.
Okay,
it's very, very key. You can't say that now the economy is stable and so you will leave it ajar and focus solely on growth. It doesn't work that way. Hold on to the things that you are doing that has brought us the stability. So that is very key in terms of being tighten government expenditure, cutting waste, improving public financial management process using technology, which is very good, and then improving government revenue by using technology to rake in more revenue in terms of ensuring that people comply with taxes and all of tax payment and all of that, or their tax obligations. It's very, very key. You understand? The inception of Gold Board, they should quickly improve on other mechanisms to do this kind of tracing and all of that.
Okay.
It's very, very key. And then regulating the buying and the selling of gold within it. People are still buying from the black market. People are still buying. There are Chinese and Indians who go to the hinterland and buy from the Galamseyers. We need to clamp down on that and make sure that not even a single kilo of gold goes through the black market. It's very, very key. Then we should also ensure, that as far as good cocoa production is concerned, we need to be very careful. Galamsey is destroying cocoa farms. We should try and make sure that the cocoa production is improved as we got 1 million metric tons some years ago.
Right.
We need to get there. Well, if you don't take care, China is going to take over from it, because now China is growing cocoa at a very faster rate. In fact, they have started even breeding a variety that can give them yield in a year.
Wow.
Whilst we are sitting here, and we just relax and all of that. If we don't take care, in few years to come, China will become the leading cocoa producer. And they are not going to only produce, but they are going to add value. Something we have failed as a nation to do for so many years. They are going to add value. So if you don't take care very soon, you are going to eat Chinese chocolate in your country, when your country was supposed to be the originator of that particular product. It's very key. Now, in terms of growth, it's very key at this particular juncture for this government. 2026 budget is supposed to be a growth agenda or a growth-driven kind of document or policy document. If we don't do that, we're going to fail as a country. Because you see, now the current administration doesn't have 4 years anymore. It's just left with maybe 1 or 2 months to end this year. So let's call it, they have 3 years.
Even the 3 years, the last one is towards election. Which
Exactly.
will take a lot
And
of,
that one, they don't even have time to implement most of the things.
Yeah.
Good. So technically, you are left with 2 years to implement certain things. Now, some of the policies and programs that they have actually launched, if you implement them, it will take a year or 2 before people will see the effect. And then others, the impact will follow later. And so that is why in my earlier submission, I was saying that the government or the president should think of doing reshuffling at the moment. It's very, very key. Look, it doesn't matter how the contribution of the person in the campaign, from maybe March or let's say April up to this time, is enough reward for the person. You understand? No matter what, it has gone on the person's CV as once being a minister or a deputy minister. It's very, very key. Now, the president should put able hands on the decks, on the desk, ensuring that ministers after reshuffle, ministers that come are show boys. People who roll their sleeves and hit the ground, dip their hands in the soil and work. Not people whose interest is to just appear in programs at funerals on weekend and social media is on them. The honorable minister of this was here and all of that. Enough of those political gimmicks.
Right.
We need to now, as a nation, and then as a matter of urgency, we need to ensure that as a nation we are looking for growth, and we should be hungry for growth. So I made mention of the youth apprenticeship, the 2026 budget. Of course, the 2025 budget, was, or some budget allocation was made for it, but implementation has not been done. I saw forms going around, and when I saw the Google forms, I was shocked. Even some of the youth walking on the street, they don't even know the kind of choice that of whatever training that they want. So, question is, has there been some sort of orientation? There should be some program ongoing orienting the youth of possible kind of skills that they can actually engage themselves in and avail themselves for training, so that they can earn a livelihood out of it after the training. Some of them don't know. You just throw in Google form and say people should fail. Fail for what? You understand? So that particular, it has to start from orienting the youth on the street. That is number one. Then the second phase of implementation should be stakeholder engagement. Players in the sectors where you want to train the youth. So that is, here we are talking about auto mechanics. I made mention of Kumasi Magazine. You understand? I made mention of Accra Kukumpe. I've made mention of Tamale Kukumpe magazine and all of that. They don't, those areas that I've mentioned, they don't only do auto mechanics. They do auto electrician, they do auto upholstery, they do spraying, they do welding and all of that. Come to the construction sector. Plumbing is there, steel bending is there, bricklaying is there. That is masonry. You understand? Electrical is also there. These days, even other gadgets like cameras and what have you, painting and all of that are there. So we need to engage, players in these sectors, and government should now sit down strategically, have some sort of PPP arrangement with them. Okay, we shall give you a X number of youth for your training, and government is going to give you ABC incentives to incentivize the players in these sectors and wholeheartedly train the youth, and even sometimes absorb some of them as their staff or as their workers. Is very, very key. Then after that, a clear-cut implementation manual is put in place, telling us with timelines that for this number of, for maybe X year or this year, we want to train X number of plumbers, X number of arc welders, X number of so and so. Fashion design, hairdressing, and all of that are there. Even fashion design, Joyce Abebio and other fashion schools are there. We have other local fashion. Put them there. Let them go and learn the skills. Even my own younger in-law, my younger sister-in-law, operate a fashion, whatever, very big, where she voluntarily bring young ladies and train them and all of that. You understand? So all these things ought to be done to ensure that that particular program is being run. We should be practical in our implementation. Look, I've had the opportunity to be to take PhD to school up to PhD level. I think as country, we are too theoretical in thinking. You understand? Everything book. We need to. 2026 should be a game changer for President Mahama, because this is his legacy term. After 2026, 2027 is there, and then 2028 is election year. And then now, even 2026 or 2027, as a party, they have to go and elect a new flag bearer. So even internally, as a ruling party, they will not have the time. Those ministers who have the ambition to contest, I've heard whatever. I don't want to mention names, but those ministers and appointees who also have the interest to contest, or even if they don't want to contest, but they support some of the contestants, hoping that if they win, they can get opportunities to serve in the person's government and all of that. You will see that they will begin to leave their offices and hit the road for campaigning and all of that. And that is very, very dangerous to us as people. And so 2026 shouldn't be a joke for the president. He should prove to us that, look, this year I'm going to give you the growth that you deserve, expand the economy, create more opportunity for our people, and then government will also go home happily, because revenue will be boosted. If you work, the government will be able to take something small from you as a tax. Is that also? And then therefore we're expanding.
Talking about the revenue bit of all of this, and I would want us to touch on some of the specific things. So for instance, inflation, we'll talk about taxation as well, and some other ones. Now, expanding the tax net has been one of the ways people have said that this is a way to actually boost revenue. Do you think the government can do that without overburdening households and also small businesses?
Yes. 500% yes. Look, household. Let me give you an example. In the real estate sector, as we are talking, people are selling houses and lands, taking hundreds of thousands of US dollars, and government is getting nothing out of it. Because we are not able to track properties. And then when it is sold and what have you. Look, I've had the opportunity to travel to China, India, and some few other countries. One of the countries, when I went, I've forgotten. You see, the government has created a platform. Compulsorily, if you want to sell any property, you put it there. The price is there. When it is off the market, government takes its tax. They will come after you and take the tax. So
they even have systems that actually
they have the systems to monitor. US is doing it. If you take, do you know that in Ghana here, this particular premises, assuming you are renting, when you rent, you are supposed to withhold part of the rent and pay to GRA. But ask how many offices that are being rented where the tenant companies are doing this. I myself, I didn't know until recently when I was going to file my taxes and all of that. And one of the questions came up. So my next rent that I'm going to pay, I'm going to withhold about 7.something%. I think 7.5%. You understand? And then pay it to GRA as withholding tax. You understand? Because there's no system to track. You cannot see. And so the people who are paying taxes are the people who have their payrolls and things with the controllers and accountant general. and maybe the private sectors, like Zed Media, who wants to strictly go by the statutory principles of operating businesses in the country. And that oneself, it is because Zed is willing to do that to help, showing patriotism.
Yeah.
Being patriotic, the boss showing patriotism or being patriotic. That is why he's doing that. But there are so many businesses who who actually evade taxes. So we have to, and this time we need to use technology. Already this government has started using the technology. Yeah. I think some of them are in the pilot phase. We need to, as a matter of urgency, try to expand that particular thing. But my key concern is the real estate sector. Look, there's money in that area that if government turns its eye over there, they can rake in a lot of revenue. Because easily going here, one plot of land, sometimes half plot of land can be sold for a price of 500,000 USD. And you could see that people will meet in the room and then exchange them documents and then the money and then off they go. We should do it in such a way that after the sales, and one of the ways we can do is to use lands commission. If you buy a property or a land, you will definitely go and do change of ownership, right? Yeah. So that is where they can, track whoever did the sales and whoever did the purchase and then take the required tax that they ought to take. But even the lands commission, go and see the rot over there. People do whatever they like. They connive or they collude with people and even change people's data and all of that. You understand? Yeah. So we can use these institutions to do that. Right. It's very, very key. So we should stop overburdening people. And you see that poor teacher is so much overburdened to the extent that he's bleeding. The disposable income that they take home is nothing to write home about. Sometimes cannot even sustain even a single person for 10 days. Look, Ghanaians are magicians, they are miracle workers. I keep telling my colleagues on a lighter note that, look, if you are looking for the miracle of God, come to Ghana. Because sometimes, imagine even a lecturer receiving 6,000 Ghana cedis a month as take home. Go to University of Ghana, go to UPSA, go to most of the tertiary institutions. I'm talking of only universities. Some lecturers are even receiving 3,500 as take home. Some of them are receiving 4,000. Some of them are receiving, I think a professor is around 8,000. How much is 8,000? And the car, if the person is driving 4x4, fuel alone. So the burden on the people who take their salary from the country, it's so much. Right. But in the informal sector, government should use technology to enter there and ensure that we relieve the few people off a bit of the burden that they're actually facing.
And I personally think we've been quite lazy. We've been doing the lazy man approach in terms of how we are collecting our taxes, because we are okay with the VAT, for instance. You know that whether I step out or not as a tax officer, the money will come to me. Sure. But the ones that we have to go there and get, we are not doing that, which is actually quite unfortunate. But on taxes, do you think are there any taxes you think should go off? Are there some that you think should be retained or some that should be introduced?
The COVID. The reason the COVID was not scrapped when the government was scrapping some sort of a nuisance tax was because of an IMF conditionality. Yeah. So for me, if today we are exiting IMF, the first tax I will call for the government to strike, to scrap it is the COVID levy. It's not fair. Unless maybe government repackage it and put it in a different umbrella in support of education or a particular sector, I will agree. But the term COVID on it is a disgrace and a high share embarrassment as a country. But I understand because of an IMF conditionality, they decided to leave it. But either the government maybe repackages it and say that I'm using this one to create a particular fund to help X sector of the economy to boost that particular sector, I will agree. Otherwise, if the government has no alternative use for it, it should be scrapped. But apart from that, I don't foresee any other tax being scrapped. And I don't think it will be prudent.
Are there any other ones you think should be introduced?
At this stage, if we are looking for growth, no. Because the growth should be done with the private sector. And if we have been able to, like you said, we are lazy with our tax collection system. Otherwise, if we have been able to expand the tax, the revenue mobilization through taxes very well, such that the few people who are paying are no longer the only bearers of the tax, whatever. Okay? Then, in a serious nation, SMEs would have been given maybe 5-10 years tax holidays, and then they are monitored to be able to grow. You understand? Recently, I heard that the government is introducing about 3% annual tax, whatever, on them, which I feel like it is a shot at, at the foot, because you see, already the cost of doing business in the country is so high. So startups really are struggling. And so if you introduce that, you're going to hurt them the more.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I don't foresee any new taxes being introduced. If the government is focused on growth, we don't have to do that at all, because you see, you need the private sector to propel growth. Government, even if government can do business up to a certain level. I for one support a situation whereby the government provide all the necessary conducive environment for businesses, for private sectors to grow. I mean, create businesses and then grow them, and then expand to employ more people. It's very, very key. And entrepreneurship should be a key thing. There are so many things that we can make business out of. You see, yesterday I went to drop my kids at school. I was with my wife, and we're talking about the seasonality of ripe plantain. Now about 3 is 10 cedis. You understand? Yeah. And I was teasing my wife that because you take 10 cedis and you are getting 3, you are happy. Few months is going to go. Then all of a sudden, somebody who's not an economist brought a fine idea that, babe, why don't we, isn't it not possible that when there is a glut, at least somebody will set up a company, mash some of them, and then use them, can them for tatari, for beans, and you understand? Or even peel them and chop them into cans, and then put them on the shelf, treat it in such a way that the lifespan will be prolonged. This is one of the ideas that we can, if somebody is able to venture there. And there are machines in China, very cheap to do that. So entrepreneurship should be something that we have to inculcate in our people. Look at the environment you are. Because you see, to create business is about identifying a problem and finding solutions to it. And out of it, you make money.
True.
That is how businesses are created. So when I finished my master's, I realized that, you see, most of the times people will need some sort of feasibility studies, and that's how I started my research company. So companies because when I was doing my master's, I got some two rare estate developers who wanted to do feasibility because they had foreign investment partners. You understand? They engaged me, and I used hedonic models and all of that and then I did a very beautiful work, and I got some money, and that is what I used to even sponsor my final year thesis and the fees and all that. So when I finished, I said, okay, so then why don't I create a small business? You understand? And that is what I've grown. I've decided to nurture it up to this level. Right. Others can look at sanitation and then couch something. That is what this man, is it Jaspon? Yes, Zoom Lion did. And now he's rich. So when we say entrepreneurship, it's about smartly identifying societal problems, community problems, and designing innovative solutions to them and make money out of it. Right. We need to train and groom our young ones to think of that. So growth means no additional taxes. It's very, very key.
So you don't expect new taxes in the coming.
Otherwise, that is going to be seriously counterproductive.
Right. Okay. Now, on inflation, I mean, we're hitting single digits. Do you think it's possible to sustain it in 2026, or what would it take if it is possible?
More than sustainable, the single digit. And I have said, studying, using historical data and making projections. If we are able to manage the Bank of Ghana, what they are doing, tightening the monetary policies, strands and all of that, and then the Ministry of Finance, what they are doing, when the exchange rate the way we are and all of that, we can maintain inflation for a long time at the single digit range or trajectory for a long time, to the level that even if we are able to reduce the level of our importations, we can even drive it down to about 5%. You understand? Because our inflation, you see, and then the inflation is actually imported. Yeah. We import rice, we import offals, yemadie, we import even toothpick, we import virtually everything that we consume. And all of them, you will need foreign currencies. And the more that you change your local currency into foreign so that you can export, you are putting a downward pressure on your local currencies. You understand? Yeah. And so it will get to a time importers will need more of the local currency to buy fewer of the foreign currency in order to be able to import. They are not for the Christmas, they are going to pass on the cost. And then so the general rise in the price of goods and services actually inure to inflation. You understand? So if we are able to put programs and policies in place to ensure that some of the things that we import, we are able to produce them here. and therefore we stop importing those things, then we are going to, have an inflation at a level where it was going to be a percentage even lower than 8% for a longer time. So it's very, very key. So as for the I have said it over and over for so many years that, look, Ghana is even beyond 8%, inflation. We don't even have to be there. We don't even have to pride ourselves. Our target actually should be between the range of 5 to 6 or 5 to 7 thereabout. Then we know that as an economic system, we have really done well for ourselves. Look, if Ghana is able to cut importation by almost 30%, do you know the snowball effect? Do you know the domino effect within the economy? If you are able to cut down importation of goods and services, especially food commodities, just food agriculture or food commodities by 30%, do you know the domino effect? The jobs that it will create, because in this case we are producing in the country. And that is what Traore, who is not an economist, is doing. So you see that immediately he came, $12 million tomato factory. When somebody is using over $95 million to build just a hole in the name of building a cathedral, when already churches are doing well with cathedrals and whatever. You see, it's also borders on priority. When this young man came, even gold refinery, they are building. They are building tomato factory. They are building a lot of stuff. Within the shortest possible time, go and see the dualization of roads. From their independence up to this particular, they were having only 6,300 kilometers of roads. As a country, very bad. But now the guy has moved the thing to the range of about 8,000 to almost 10,000 kilometers of road for the whole country, and he's still doing it. And do you know what he's doing? He's not importing contractors. He's using local people. So the flying of money out of the country is curtailed. This guy is not an economist. Look, you don't need economics, too much economics to run a nation. It is common sense, because in your home, you are an economist. When you receive Trebi, when you receive your salary, be it X amount or Y amount, you know your necessities. Yeah. You know things that you can do away with. Is that not the case? Yeah. So you are able to manage the little you have such that the next month will come, and then you even be able to save some of the previous month whatever money. You're an economist. That's all about economics. That's all about economics. How to manage scarce resources in an optimal manner to get to optimize your benefit. Forget about all any other terms. You understand? Yeah. And that is what this guy is doing. So we need to actually have a look at that and ensure that we boost the economy by cutting down importation. It's very, very key. We rather have to import things on the basis of comparative advantage, things that we cannot do it here. You understand?
Right. Okay.
Then we can get there.
Okay. Right. Our time is up, and so we have to go. But maybe finally, I know we are under an IMF program, yes, and so that will require some fiscal discipline in the coming year. But a lot of people are calling for, like we said from the beginning, people need to see the effect of the stability we're talking about. They want to see something in their pockets. Do you think it's possible to balance that? And more so because we also plan to exit the IMF program in 2026. Yeah. And so do you think we can be able to manage all of those things, giving the economic relief to the Ghanaian people, and still making sure that we are ensuring some fiscal discipline?
The IMF conditionality is even what is helping us. It will still make the government remain disciplined. And I have said it here, that I hope the stability we are enjoying is not because IMF is sitting on our neck to ensure that we remain disciplined. Because I've seen it before, this cyclical situation. Whenever we are we find ourselves in an economic limbo, we go for IMF, programs. We are put in a very tight and disciplined manner. We manage, and you see that the economy takes shape. Immediately IMF leaves, daddy is no more at home, daddy is travel, so let's do whatever. Then our leaders went back on borrowing spree and unnecessary spending spree. Then we come back to this particular cycle. So I hope that whatever they are doing, to ensure that we are enjoying this stability, one, it's not because IMF is in town, but it's because they are willing to do the right thing, for which is also helping us meet the IMF condition. So I am hoping that it's rather the other way around, that we are rather doing it with or without IMF.
Right.
And because we are prepared to do the right thing, it is helping us also to meet the IMF condition. That is key. Now, that aside, people want to feel it in their pocket. You cannot feel in your pocket direct just because there is stability. That stability ought to be, used. So here, for you to feel something good in your pocket, stability is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition. And let me explain. It's a key, detailed economic term. A necessary condition, for example, it is a necessary condition for you to have a capital to do business. But it is not sufficient.
That alone is not enough.
That alone is not enough. You need to have a good marketing strategy, good business management, whatever, and all of that. Discipline and all of that. Good staff or good workers. You understand? And tight, management and all of that. Those become sufficient for you to be able to use your capital to get benefit. So now coming back to a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition as far as stability is concerned. It is necessary for us to have stability, but that alone will not make you feel it in your pocket unless that sufficient condition called the growth comes in. I hope you get the point. And so here, we have the stability. That stability, as people are calling, we don't feel it in our pocket. They are right. But there is some sort of, sufficient condition that the government ought to meet before you can feel that your expectation in your pocket in terms of feeling good. And that is the growth. And where do we start the growth? Agriculture. Look, the inception of the subject matter called economics in the world started when the world was purely agrarian economy. Almost every part of. So if you read basic economic textbooks at the University of Ghana, I'm sure you are there, you see that 4 bushels of corn. The examples that they were using are all agriculture something. Right. Agriculture is the basis for everything. Industrialization, agriculture is the basis. You need to produce to meet the local demands in terms of consumption and also meet local demands in terms of raw materials for industrial takeoff or production. When we are able to do that, growth will start. Then, on the other hand, government using technology to ensure that in terms of efficiency, we are there. Efficiency in production, efficiency in management, efficiency in operations, and what have you, we are there. It's very, very key. Right. Then the next one is to ensure that the government itself cutting down waste and then engaging more in capital expenditure. Because it is that which is also going to create jobs. Look at the Accra and Sawom road that is being constructed. Do you know the amount of jobs it is creating? You cannot quantify. You understand? Direct and indirect jobs. The direct jobs are the laborers and the masons and engineers who are being hired to work. And then the indirect jobs are the ex-sellers and what have you. Do you know the jobs that it is creating? So if whenever government engages in capital expenditure, automatically there's growth in the economy. Aside agriculture and the things that I've just mentioned. Right. Capital expenditure. We should cut down our consumption expenditure. And let me hasten to add, just to end, this mindset of politicians promising, free this, that, they are all consumption expenditure. And it doesn't actually bring growth. Grow your economy. And when you get surplus, you can use some to do that. So
even when you are able to grow the economy, you might not even need a free because everybody is
you understand? Right. And that is one of the reasons I am not against free SHS, but I feel like we really don't need it if we are doing the right thing to propel growth. And Trebi, you are receiving, let's say, 10,000, 15,000 Ghana cedis a month as salary, at your level. Don't you think you can educate your children in the best schools?
Because I wouldn't need
you see, SHS. You can even accumulate and then buy your own plot of land and have your 2-3 bedroom house. Right. Very simple one and all of that. So we need to, stay away from free this, free that. I'm not saying they are bad, but the timing is not good for us as people. So growth is the sufficient condition to meet the necessary condition of stability in order to feel good in our pockets.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Felix Larry. I know there's so much burning in you to share, but because of our time. Hopefully we can have another conversation after the budget reading and look at whether they were able to meet your expectations and some other things. So thank you so much for your time, and thanks for being here this morning and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, so that was Dr. Felix Larry. He is a development economist, and he's executive director of the Institute of Development and Economic Research. And he joined us this morning for our roundtable conversation on the expectations for the budget. And he says that he is looking forward to growth in the coming year. Enough of the stability. Now let's make sure that we are transforming, or let's move from stability to transformation or growth. And that is actually something that he is expecting in the budget reading that will take place tomorrow. Well, but thank you very much for listening to us as well. And we hope that you join us again for another conversation tomorrow morning at exactly 6:15 through to 10 a.m. My name is Nitra B. Hammond. Thanks to the production team. We're back again tomorrow. Please do well to take care of yourself and make sure that when you think Ghana, you think Zed as well. Up next is an inspiration from the Riser Brink. Today's impact story is that of Calabs 2, and it is about fruit juice production and branding. Please have a listen and stay inspired.
Sustainable economic growth. Hear the inspiring stories of how this transformative project is making a lasting impact in Ghana.
I per se, the motive behind me fruit juice I'm starting there to produce fresh fruits and to dispense them. So time biano, dispense tinipanaba yanwa na yebede Yezegu bottle man, Yezegu disposable cup man. That was it. And they be a eco programs nazi. Now, Jenny behind what they be a bottle. Now I'll to my queechy. But rise up from Wabe and bring for Wabe. Obey whom for sure one day a bottle or drinks because say bottle a package and the bottom I travel more from Army Day side. Time behind a servo wara. Even if me ubi per in bottle label be I just bottle it and give it out. So at the end of the day, so bit on also any programmer. I have to make a list the product, which nina no tedious. But me bring for the bear mama yetase branding no fashion baby able to on other products no zedun say honana. My same. And as I sit here now, by kind courtesy of Brinks, na Riser, woman minya them are general, and my register me 11 products with FDA minimum certificate and my bottle.
To learn more about the Riser Bring project and how you can get involved, contact us on www.ugbsiih.org and follow UGBS Nest on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn for more